Okay, continuing on with our end-to-end demo of the split view controller. So we have this detail view controller that we can now, over in our storyboard, assign to this detail view controller side of the split view. So identity inspector, we say this is a detail view controller. Great. Let's do one other thing. Let's embed this in a navigation controller. And that way I'll be able to put a title on it. And so the title that we want, sorry, we go over to this guy to specify, let's see, was it that one? No, hold on. Right there. This is going to be my detail VC. Let's see, that wasn't what I wanted either. Why am I struggling to get the title specified? Navigation item, that's where I said it. Okay, sorry, I forgot. It's been too long, and I do forget stuff like that, and I find myself hunting around. Detail VC. So that shows up on the detail view controller as my title. And on this side, instead of calling that root view controller, I'm going to call this one master VC. Okay. Now, the other thing that, as we talked in class, the other piece of the recipe is I need a segue from the master to the detail, and this is going to be a show detail, and that's going to need an identifier, and I'm going to call this one show president. And so I'm going to go back to my master view controller, and I'm going to call this one static let show president segue equal show president. And now going back to my notes in my slide here, here's the pattern that we're working on. And I told you that the code is on 3 of these other slides. So when they select a row at an index path, we need to perform that segue. And then in the prepare for segue, we need to communicate to the detail what the actual information is that we're trying to push from the master to the detail side. So back to Xcode, and let's implement the delegate method. So table view did select row at index path. There we go. And we're going to say perform segue with identifier storyboard dot show president segue, and the sender. Now in the slides there, you saw that I chose to make the sender whatever the model string was, indexPath.row. There. Okay, so it'll be George Washington or John Adams or Thomas Jefferson is what I'm passing to this guy as the segue sender. And now the next piece is I need to prepare for segue, and that code is right over here in the slide deck. So we'll override our prepare for segue method, and we'll use this little bit of code. So right up here, prepare for segue, paste in that little chunk of code, and we can get rid of the comments. Okay, and now storyboard dot show president segue. All right, so remember I had set up the storyboard so that on the detail side we have a navigation controller, and here, let me zoom out just a little bit here and move this just a hair. Okay, so here's my segue, my show president segue, and it's targeting a navigation controller that has this detail view controller as the root. All right, so oops. Now, if then I have a navigation controller as the destination of the segue, and then that navigation controller has a detail view controller as the top root view controller, then I can now cast that. So let's go add some more content to our detail view controller. Let's create a property called name, and let's assign it by default unknown, so that it'll have something to display there if it doesn't work out. But now what I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, detail view controller, if the sender of this segue can be cast to a string, then let's assign that across to name. Otherwise, we'll assign unknown to the name, and which is the default anyway. Let's see, what's it complaining about here? Value of type, detail view control. Okay, it went away because it hadn't recompiled yet. Okay, now, all right. So we're now at the point where we're communicating information from the master view controller to the detail view controller, but we need to do something with that. So I'm going to put a couple of labels onto this detail side here. And I want one of the labels to say chosen president and let's put it up at the top. And let's auto layout this guy to say center horizontally in safe area. Actually, let's center it vertically as well. Okay, and now I want another label. Whoops, I'm doing this wrong. Option. Here, let's zoom in. I want another label above that one. And now we will say vertical spacing and center horizontally to position that. And then this one, we're going to call this unknown. And let's center that text. And let's make a label to that, or an outlet to that label, so that we can then change it when we load the view. So we're going to call this name label. And now in our view did load, we're going to always say super.view did load. Then we're going to call our update UI, and in our private func update UI, the only thing for us to do is to say, hey, name label dot text, would you please be the same as whatever our name property is? Whoops, autocomplete. Okay, be the same as whatever our name property is. And now, let's see if this works on the iPhone 8 Plus. Okay, so if it comes, and we start on the detail side, we go to the master side, and we say John Adams, and yep, sure enough, we're getting John Adams. Now, if I show them side by side, you see that that also works. Now, there's one more little bit here, and that is I need a display mode button item, and so we go back to our code here. And by the way, you'll recognize that this is what I typed in on the detail view controller. But the last little bit of our recipe that we've shown you so far is we need to say, let's configure the display mode button item as I showed you in the previous video and as we did in class. So let's go drop that into the detail view controller's view did load right here. And get rid of the comments. Oops. Okay, actually here, let's go to where we can see all of the code properly. Okay, so if we have a split view controller, we supplement the back button and we assign that display mode button item into the left bar button item on that navigation bar. And up it comes, and now you see we can expand this, or we can go back to the side-by-side mode. Okay? All right, that's the end-to-end demo of how you do a split view controller. And you can go try this on an iPad, and you're going to see that it works right. So get the iPad Pro 11-inch. Launching here. And remember, in portrait mode on the iPad, so in landscape mode they'll be side by side, but in portrait mode I need a display mode button item to be able to access the master, and that's my display mode button item right there. I tap on it, I see the master overlay the detail. I can also swipe from the left to pull that out. In landscape I don't need the display mode button item. So let's see, the one other piece. Well, that's enough for now. That's a complete end-to-end demo of the split view controller. Next time in class, we'll show you a little bit more about how to do the split view controller delegate and why we might care about customizing that.